So President Cyril Ramaphosa will address the nation at around 8 this evening on the response to the coronavirus pandemic. The presidency says in a statement that the address follows a special sitting of cabinet that considered recommendations from the Coronavirus Command Council. Parts of South Africa have seen an increase in the rate of transmission of COVID-19, and there are concerns in some quarters about a strong second wave of infections, particularly with December holidays coming up. In his weekly newsletter, the president appealed to citizens not to give in and not to allow COVID-19 to spread further than it has. He said government was now on implementing the economic recovery plan, which will see more jobs being created within different sectors of the economy. The SABC will carry the president's address live on its TV, radio and online platforms. Right, let's speak to our political editor, Mzwandile Mbeje, in the run-up to the speech by the president. Mzwai, what are we expecting tonight?
Well, very good evening to you, Francis, and the viewers. Of course, everyone is waiting very patiently to hear what the president is going to say around the issues that deal with coronavirus. Not many, Francis, expect drastic changes in terms of what the president is going to announce. But I can tell you that having observed how South Africans have been behaving for the past month or so, I don't think the situation, or rather, they have helped the situation in terms of turning the corner. If you look at the daily infections, they are around, perhaps if you just round it off, we are probably getting infected about 1,500 people every day, and that is not good, Francis. I mean, we have the weather on our side, is much warmer, so where this virus, we are told, it doesn't really live far too long in a warm weather. But given that we are not even able to manage it in a warm weather, so just imagine, Francis, if then we get into our chilly season. So I think what the president is going to tell us, the president is going to remind us that this war is far from over. We need to be all responsible. We can't let our guard down now, because if we let our guard down now, it would be like what is happening in other countries. I mean, in countries like Europe, so countries are reimposing new restrictions. In countries like America, they are on a second or even third wave. So they are reporting a number of coronavirus cases. So what he basically will say to us is that we have to be vigilant. This is not over. If we are not vigilant, and perhaps by next week or the next few weeks, he may then decide to then impose those tougher restrictions, and that will not be nice, given that we are heading into our holiday season and people are already in a jovial, festive mood. So those are all things to consider. I think he is really going to warn us as South Africans that we have to be responsible, Francis.
Mzwai, in previous statements, he has touched on the issue of corruption, even spoken about clamping down on corruption because people were so disgusted about the COVID-19 corruption. This comes as the ANC, not government, but the ANC through its Secretary General facing another scandal. He's been issued with a warrant of arrest. Do you think corruption will be touched on at all tonight?
It's possible, Francis, that he may speak in broad general terms. Remember, this is more of an ANC matter, and then we have seen the party pronounce itself in relation to its Secretary General. But given what has been happening, and that you still have people who remain suspended. In fact, the spokesperson at the president at the moment is on leave because of issues relating to COVID-19 corruption. So he may say something in terms of what people must do, that people must not unduly benefit because that will endanger the fight that the country is embarking upon. So that issue really is what South Africans also are worried about. And then once they hear their president very clear on pronouncing what sort of actions he will do. So I think there will be some level of confidence. But of course, at the end of the day, we will all be reminded that we have to play our part, because you can't just rely on someone else, that if someone else plays their part, so you'll be safe. Yeah. So for me, to be safe, you have to play your part. For you to be safe, I have to play my part. I think that is the kind of the thrust of the message that will come from the president.
So very quickly, it must be on his mind that South Africa cannot afford another strict lockdown. Some would say we couldn't even afford the first. We're in a very difficult situation. Millions of lives affected by this. So surely, and also the investor conference coming up, it's about investor certainty as well. So surely he would want to get a strong message through to make sure that people act responsibly so that no future measures are needed.
Absolutely. I mean, no one wants... I mean, we are on level 1 now, but people really are struggling to wear the masks, particularly because it's hot. So it just makes it very uncomfortable. But we have to. So, but here is the situation, Francis. If we then continue to disregard the regulations that are out there, so government may be left with no other option, because if our hospitals start to receive more numbers, if they get overwhelmed, you can't sacrifice the lives of the people simply because people don't want to listen. And I think the message will be very strong to say, you have to follow these regulations, because failing to do that will force the hand of a tougher lockdown. I mean, we know a tougher lockdown will also put our livelihoods at stake. I mean, we have lost a number of jobs. Many companies are going through a very difficult period. So you don't want to go back there. But Francis, we have examples. We thought Europe was over this, and Europe is back there. You look at France, you look at Germany, Belgium, UK. So all those countries at some point thought they were over this. They find themselves having to reimpose those lockdowns, and they don't want to do it. But because their citizens, I would say, did not take the precautions that the government has set out seriously, the virus came back strongly. And when it comes back even stronger than the previous one, than the first one. So that is the challenge that we are facing. If we are not able really to follow what is supposed to be happening, so we are not immune from experiencing the very same thing that other people are experiencing. I mean, countries like France never thought they were going to reimpose. Countries like UK. So we are in that situation where we feel we are free. Now we are on level 1. From level 1, we need to go to level 0. But the fact of the matter is that the virus is still with us, and then if it has to be contained, we need to act responsibly. Yes, there are news headlines from America, for example, in terms of the vaccine by Pfizer that is seen to be 90% effective. But of course, those are early days, even if it were to be found to be the right one. So how many people will be able to benefit? So at the moment, there is no vaccine. So the vaccine is us as individuals and as collectives.
All right. Thank you very much, Mzwandile Mbeje, political editor, expecting a very strong warning from the president tonight. Chris Helder.